The space above Earth's moon twisted and tore like paper being ripped apart. One by one, the ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They were massive, each one larger than Earth's cities, made of dark metal that seemed to swallow light itself. The ships kept coming, hundreds at first, then thousands. They arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns that stretched across millions of kilometers. This was the Galactic Concordat, and they had come to welcome humanity into their empire. Inside the command ship, Admiral Stor stood on his bridge, his 4 eyes watching the primitive blue planet below. His scales rippled with satisfaction. In his 300 years of service, he had done this ceremony 47 times. It always went the same way. The primitives would panic, their leaders would argue for days, and finally they would submit. How could they not? The Concordat represented 847 species, 12,000 years of civilization, and military power beyond imagination. "Send the standard greeting," Stor ordered, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into universal language. "Inform them of the great honor being bestowed upon them." Across the galaxy, billions of beings tuned into the quantum cast. This was always entertaining. Some species cried, some begged, some tried to fight with their laughable weapons. But all of them eventually knelt. It was the natural order of things. The strong ruled, the weak served. On Earth, the message reached every screen, every device, every communication system simultaneously. The Concordat's message was clear. Humanity would join them, would follow their laws, would contribute their resources and people to the greater galactic civilization. Resistance was futile. Compliance was mandatory. They had 1 week to respond. In the United Earth Council chambers, the leaders gathered. The room was silent for exactly 12 seconds after the message ended. Then someone started laughing. It was President Martinez of the Americas. Within seconds, others joined in. The Russian Premier, the African Union Chancellor, the Asian Federation Director. They were all laughing. "They actually did it," Martinez said, wiping tears from her eyes. "After all these years, they finally came. Should we tell them?" asked Director Kim. "Not yet," said Chancellor Okonkwo, grinning. "Let's have a little fun first." 3.2 seconds after receiving the Concordat's message, Earth transmitted its response. It was not what Admiral Stor expected. The transmission was audio only, and it started with laughter. Genuine, delighted human laughter. Then a voice spoke in perfect Concordat standard. "Oh, you guys are adorable. We've been watching you for 80 years. Did you really think we didn't see your little spy drones? Come closer if you want to actually see something impressive." On the bridge, Stor's scales flushed purple with anger. In 800 years of Concordat history, no primitive species had ever responded with mockery. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. "This is an insult to the Concordat," his second-in-command hissed. "We should destroy one of their colonies. Show them the price of disrespect." Stor considered it, but something felt wrong. That laughter had not been afraid. It had been amused. Like an adult watching a child try to act tough. No, something was not right here. "Move the fleet forward," he ordered. "All ships, high alert. Scan everything." The massive fleet began to move, crossing the orbit of the outermost planets. Their sensors swept across the system, looking for the pathetic defenses the humans surely had prepared. Some old nuclear missiles, perhaps, or chemical rockets with warheads. That was when the sensor officer made a strange noise. In Stor's species, that particular sound indicated extreme confusion. "Admiral, I am detecting anomalies." "Explain." "The asteroid belt. I am reading thousands of energy signatures. No, tens of thousands. They are everywhere." Stor moved to the sensor display. What he saw made no sense. Every asteroid, every piece of space rock larger than a house was giving off power readings. "Fusion reactors, weapon systems, shield generators, that is impossible," he said. "That would require millions of installations. This species has only been in space for 200 years. "Confirmed, Admiral. I am now detecting similar readings from their moon. And Mars, and, by the ancients, the gas giant moons are all military installations." The bridge fell silent. Across the fleet, other ships were reporting the same thing. The entire solar system was armed. Not just armed, but weaponized beyond anything they had seen before. "How many platforms?" Stor asked quietly. The sensor officer's voice trembled. "In the asteroid belt alone? 6,300,000. And those are just the ones that are powered on. Another transmission came from Earth, the same amused voice. You are now looking at approximately 1% of our defensive grid. We keep the other 99% in standby mode. Saves energy. You are standing in the most heavily armed star system in this entire galaxy, Admiral. Your fleet is very pretty, though. Must have taken a long time to gather all those ships. Stor felt something he had not experienced in 200 years. Fear. Real. Cold fear. Admiral, we are being painted by targeting systems, Tactical reported. Millions of them. They have firing solutions on every ship in our fleet. But sir, the communications officer interrupted, they are not powering weapons. They are just watching us. Another message came through. We know you have questions, Admiral Stor. Yes, we know your name. We know all your names. We have been inside your empire for 60 years. We have been your janitors, your miners, your overlooked laborers. You never looked at us closely. Now we think it is time for a conversation. A real one. Our ambassador will arrive at your flagship in 30 minutes. We recommend you let her dock. The alternative would be unpleasant for everyone. Stor looked at his fleet, his pride of the Concordat, and realized they were not conquerors here. They were guests. And the hosts were not happy. The human ship arrived exactly on time, not a second early or late. This alone disturbed Admiral Stor. The Concordat's best pilots could not match such precision. The vessel was small, barely 50 meters long, but it moved through space like a predator. Smooth, efficient, and utterly confident. They did not ask permission to dock, his second-in-command observed. They simply informed us they were coming. I noticed, Stor said dryly. Let them board. But full security detail. Weapons ready. The airlock cycled and Ambassador Chen walked onto the Concordat flagship like she owned it. She was a small human, her hair gray with age, wearing a simple dark suit. Behind her walked two guards in black armor that looked far too advanced for a species that supposedly just learned to leave their home world. Admiral Stor, she said with a slight smile. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We did not invite you, he replied stiffly. You invited yourself. True, Chen agreed pleasantly. But you came to our home uninvited, so I think we are even. Shall we talk in private? Or would you prefer your officers hear everything? Stor's scales rippled with irritation, but he led her to his private conference room. His security chief protested, but Chen raised a hand. Your men can scan us if it makes you comfortable. We are not carrying weapons. Well, nothing you would recognize as weapons. That last comment sent chills through Stor's spine, but the scans came back clean. Once inside the conference room, Chen sat down without being asked and pulled out a small data pad. Let me save us both time, she said. You came here thinking we are primitives who need to be brought into galactic civilization. You expected us to be afraid, to submit, to be grateful for the chance to serve the mighty Concordat. Are we close so far? Stor said nothing, which Chen took as confirmation. Here is what you do not know. 83 years ago, our deep space probes detected one of your surveillance drones. It was monitoring our solar system from the edge of the Oort cloud. Instead of announcing ourselves, we watched it. We studied it. We learned from it. She tapped her pad and a hologram appeared between them. It showed a Concordat drone, slowly being disassembled and analyzed. We figured out your language, your technology, your faster-than-light travel, all from that one drone. Then we built our own and sent them into your space. Hundreds of them, thousands. They watched your empire for decades. Impossible, Stor said. Our security would have detected them. Chen's smile was not pleasant. Admiral, your security is designed to catch other Concordat species. Species that play by your rules, that think like you think. Humans do not play by your rules. We learned to hide when we were still living in caves, hunting animals 10 times our size. Stealth is in our nature. Another tap, another hologram. This one showed a Concordat shipyard with human agents working on the lower decks. For 60 years, we have had people inside your empire. Humans look similar enough to a dozen of your species that simple disguises work. We have been your maintenance workers, your asteroid miners, your cargo haulers. The jobs nobody else wants to do. You never looked twice at us. Stor felt his blood turn cold. You are saying you have spies throughout Concordat space? Not just spies. Observers, engineers, scientists. We mapped every military base, every shipyard, every colony. We know your fleet positions, your supply lines, your tactical doctrines. Admiral, we know things about your empire that your own council does not know. She pulled up another image. this time showing the massive fleet currently sitting in Earth's solar system. When we saw how the Concordat welcomes new species, we made a decision. Every nation on Earth, every government, every faction that had been fighting each other for thousands of years, we all agreed on one thing. We would bow to no one. So we prepared. Prepared how? Zexthor asked, though he was beginning to understand. We turned our entire solar system into a fortress. Every asteroid became a weapons platform. Every moon became a factory. We hollowed out our own moon and filled it with shipyards. For 80 years we built and built and built. Your spies, the ones you thought were watching us without being detected, they saw only what we wanted them to see. Primitive fusion drives, simple colony ships, basic industrial operations. The truth was hidden underneath. Another hologram appeared, showing cross-sections of the asteroid belt. Each rock was honeycombed with reactors, weapons, living quarters. 6 million platforms in the asteroid belt alone. Each one can destroy a Concordat battleship. Our moon contains 40,000 warships, most of them larger and faster than your flagship. Mars has enough ground-based weapons to sterilize a continent, and that is just the inner system. Zexthor's head was spinning. Why tell me this? Why reveal yourselves now? Chen's expression turned serious. Because you are not our real enemy, Admiral. You are an annoyance, yes. A threat to our freedom, certainly. But you are not the reason we built all this. She pulled up a new image, and Zexthor felt his heart stop. The hologram showed deep space beyond the edge of the galaxy. And in that darkness, something moved, something vast beyond comprehension. A swarm of ships that made the Concordat fleet look like insects. We call them the Devourers, Chen said quietly. Our deep space probes found them 15 years ago. They are coming from another galaxy, consuming everything in their path. They will reach Concordat space in approximately 80 years, maybe less. The Concordat has observed no such threat, Zexthor said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Concordat has not looked. You have been comfortable for so long, Admiral. 12,000 years of peace and stability. You stopped watching the horizon because nothing bad ever came from it. Humans, we never stopped looking for threats. We cannot help it. It is how we survived. She zoomed in on the approaching swarm. They destroy everything. They do not negotiate, do not take prisoners, do not seek resources. They simply consume and move on. When they reach this galaxy, everything you know will die, unless we stop them. Zexthor stared at the hologram, his mind racing. You are lying. This is a trick to make us leave. We do not need tricks to make you leave, Chen said flatly. We could destroy your fleet right now if we wanted to. We have not fired a single shot because we need you alive. We need the Concordat's industrial capacity, your population, your resources, not to serve us but to help us prepare for what is coming. She stood up and suddenly she seemed much larger than her small frame. So here is the deal, Admiral. You can try to conquer us and we will destroy your fleet. Then the Devourers will come and kill everyone. Or you can work with us, share what we know, prepare together, and maybe, just maybe, we all survive. Your choice. The Concordat Council chamber had never been so loud. 847 species all shouting at once, their translators struggling to keep up. Admiral Zexthor stood in the center of the chaos waiting for order. It did not come. This is human deception, roared the Vryn ambassador, his tentacles thrashing. They fabricate threats to make us weak. They infiltrated our empire, hissed the Thelian queen, her hive mind speaking as one. That alone is an act of war. War? Against humans? The Kryn elder's laugh was bitter. You saw the sensor data. They have been preparing for 8 decades. They turned their entire star system into a weapon. How do you fight that? Chancellor Vorn, the Concordat's supreme leader, finally managed to restore order with a blast of sonic energy that made everyone wince. He was a member of the eldest species, one of the first to join the Concordat 10,000 years ago. His word was law. Enough, he said, his ancient voice carrying across the chamber. Admiral Zexthor, present your evidence. Zexthor activated the holographic displays. The council fell silent as they watched. The images of human infiltrators working throughout Concordat space, the cross-sections of Earth's weaponized solar system, and finally, the approaching swarm of Devourers. The humans claim this threat will reach our space in 80 years, Zexthor explained. They have been preparing for it since they discovered it 15 years ago. They say they hid from us not out of fear but to buy time. And you believe them? Chancellor Vorn asked. I believe the sensor data. I believe our own intelligence failures. As for the Devourers, we should send our own deep space probes to verify. But if they are telling the truth, we have little time. The Vryn ambassador slammed his appendage on his podium. I say we destroy Earth now, before they become a greater threat. Use the full might of the Concordat. Turn their system to dust. You would need to send every ship we have, said the Thelian queen thoughtfully. And even then, victory is not guaranteed. The humans have proven very good at hiding their true capabilities. What else might they have that we have not seen? We could blockade them, suggested another delegate. Contain them to their system. With what ships? Zexthor asked. We would need to keep a permanent fleet there, weakening our borders, and the humans have already demonstrated they can move through our space undetected. A blockade would be meaningless. The debate raged for hours. Some wanted war. Others wanted negotiation. A few even suggested joining the humans, which caused outrage among the more traditional species. Finally, Chancellor Vorn called for silence again. We will send verification probes to deep space, he announced. If the human claims about these devourers are true, we will reconvene. Until then, the fleet will remain at Earth but will not engage unless attacked. Admiral Zexthor, you will maintain communication with the humans. Learn what you can. It was not the decisive action many wanted, but it was something. The council adjourned in confusion and fear. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Concordat did not know what to do. While the council argued, some species did not wait for permission. The Kryn, a warrior culture that valued strength above all else, sent a delegation to Earth. With them came the Thelian collective, whose hive mind made them the galaxy's best scientists. They wanted to see the truth for themselves. Ambassador Chen met them at the human lunar base. She led them through corridors carved deep into the moon's core. The Kryn warriors towered over her, their forearms carrying ceremonial weapons, their scales gleaming red and gold. The Thelians moved as one, dozens of bodies thinking with a single mind. You wish to see our preparations, Chen said. Very well. But understand, what you see here stays between us. The rest of the Concordat is not ready for this knowledge. They entered a massive chamber, and the visitors stopped in awe. The inside of the moon was hollow, but it was not empty. Shipyards stretched in every direction, building vessels on a scale that made Concordat dreadnoughts look small. Thousands of workers, human and robotic, swarmed over the construction. These are our Titan-class battleships, Chen explained. Each one is 15 kilometers long. They carry weapons that can crack planets. We have been building them for 70 years. How many? The Kryn elder asked, his voice respectful for the first time. This facility alone has produced 83. We have 17 more facilities like this throughout the system. The Thelian Queen's collective mind rippled with shock. That would require resources beyond what your planet could provide. We mine the asteroid belt, Chen said simply, and the outer planets. And we recycle everything. Humans are very good at making use of what we have. She took them deeper, to the training facilities. Here, human soldiers practiced in brutal conditions. Gravity 3 times Earth normal. Simulated combat against computer enemies that never tired, never made mistakes. Chemical and biological hazards that would kill most species instantly. The humans kept fighting. Your soldiers train as if death is guaranteed, observed the Kryn elder. Because in war, it is, Chen replied. We do not train to survive. We train so that when we die, we take as many enemies with us as possible. Every human knows this. Every human accepts this. That is madness, the Thelian Queen said. That is humanity, Chen corrected. We evolved on a death world. Our planet tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. We survived by being more stubborn than anything that wanted us dead. That stubbornness is now turned toward the stars. She showed them the research facilities next. Here, human scientists worked on weapons the Concordat would consider war crimes. Weaponized black holes, artificially triggered supernovas, viruses designed to destroy specific genetic codes, nanomachines that could disassemble matter at the atomic level. You would destroy entire star systems, the Kryn elder said, horrified but impressed. If it means stopping the devourers? Yes, without hesitation, Chen said. This is what you do not understand about humans. We do not fight to win. We fight so that if we lose, our enemy loses too. Mutual destruction is acceptable if the alternative is slavery or extinction. The tour continued for days. The visitors saw manufacturing plants that produced ammunition measured in megatons, farms growing food in artificial environments to feed billions of soldiers, medical facilities where humans experimented with genetic modifications and cybernetic enhancements. Everything was designed for one purpose, war on a galactic scale. On the final day, The Kryn elder stood with Chen on the observation deck, looking out at Earth. "Your people are terrifying," he said quietly. "In all the galaxy, I have never seen a species so utterly committed to violence." "We do not love war," Chen said. "We hate it, but we are very, very good at it. And right now, the galaxy needs species that are good at war. The Concordat will not accept your terms easily. I know, but they will accept them eventually. When their verification probes confirm what we told them, when they see the Devourers with their own eyes, they will come to us and they will beg for help." "And will you help them?" the Thelian Queen asked. "After they came to conquer you?" Chen smiled sadly. "Of course we will, because humans do not abandon others to die even if those others are not our friends. It is another one of our strange characteristics. We would rather save an enemy than let them be destroyed by something worse." The Kryn elder made a sound that translated to respect. "Then perhaps there is hope. But your people must teach us. The Concordat has forgotten how to fight. 12,000 years of peace made us soft." "That is why we prepared for 80 years, Chen said. "We knew we would not just have to fight the Devourers. We would have to teach the galaxy how to fight them too." 3 months after the Concordat's verification probes returned, everything changed. The probes had traveled to the edge of the galaxy and sent back images that could not be denied. The Devourers were real, they were coming, and they were even worse than the humans had claimed. The Concordat Council met again, but this time the tone was different. Fear replaced arrogance. The chamber was silent as Chancellor Vorn spoke. The humans were telling the truth. The threat is real and approaching. We estimate 78 years until first contact with Concordat space. Perhaps less. We must act. Then we destroy Earth, the Vryn ambassador said, though his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Before they grow stronger. "And then what?" asked the Kryn elder, who now sat as an official delegate. "We destroy. Our best chance at survival because of pride. The humans have been preparing for this for 80 years. We have not. We need them." "The Kryn are right," said the Thelian Queen. "My collective has analyzed human military doctrine. It is brutal, efficient, and effective. More importantly, humans think like predators. The Concordat thinks like prey pretending to be predators. Against the Devourers, that distinction will matter." The debate raged for weeks. Finally, a compromise was reached. The Concordat would not officially surrender to human authority, but they would form an alliance. Technology would be shared. Training would be provided. Species who wanted to learn human military methods could volunteer. Admiral Zexathor was put in charge of the joint military operations. His first meeting with the Human Military Command did not go well. "You want to do what?" he asked, staring at General Park, the Human Military Commander. "Acceptable losses," Park repeated calmly. "In any battle against the Devourers, we should expect to lose 30 to 40% of our forces, maybe more. We plan for this. The Concordat does not accept such losses. We fight to minimize casualties." "Then you will lose," Park said bluntly. "The Devourers do not care about their losses. They will throw 1,000,000 ships at you to destroy one of yours if that is what it takes. If you fight to preserve lives, they will use that against you." Zexthor felt sick. "You are asking us to send our people to die. I am asking you to send your people to fight. Death is a possibility in any fight. The question is whether they die for nothing or die buying time for others to survive. That is the choice." Over the following months, volunteers from across the Concordat came to human training facilities. Most did not last long. The training was too harsh, too brutal. Humans pushed their trainees to the breaking point and then pushed harder. Many species protested that this was torture, not training. "In real combat, the Devourers will not give you time to rest," the human instructors said. "They will not care if you are tired or hurt or scared. You adapt now or you die later. Choose." Some species refused and went home, but others stayed. The Kryn, already a warrior culture, took to human tactics quickly. Their forearms and natural aggression made them excellent soldiers once they learned to fight as humans did, with ruthless efficiency. The Thelians used their hive mind to coordinate tactics that humans could only dream of. The Zarath, a silicon-based species that could survive in hard vacuum, became perfect for boarding actions. The real challenge was changing how the Concordat thought about war. For 12,000 years they had fought conflicts that were more like chess games. Formal, structured, with rules about what weapons could be used and how battles should be conducted. Humans had no such rules. There is no such thing as a war crime when facing extinction, Ambassador Chen explained to a horrified Concordat ethics committee. You want to preserve your moral superiority? Fine. Die with clean hands. But if you want to survive, you will have to do things that make you uncomfortable. The first joint human Concordat military exercise was a disaster. The Concordat forces followed proper formation, maintained communication protocols, and fought as they had been taught for millennia. The human forces ignored all formations, used communication sparingly to avoid detection, and fought like a pack of predators hunting prey. You broke every rule of proper military conduct, Stor said after reviewing the exercise data. We won, General Park replied. In war, that is the only rule that matters. This is not how civilized species fight. No. It is how survivors fight. Learn the difference. But slowly, grudgingly, the Concordat forces began to adapt. They learned to think like humans, to fight, dirty, to use every advantage no matter how dishonorable it seemed. It was painful, like learning to walk after having legs broken and reset. But it worked. Then the Devourers arrived early. The first warning came from a Concordat border colony. The distress signal lasted exactly 12 seconds before cutting off. By the time the joint military response fleet arrived, there was nothing left. No ships, no stations, no debris. The Devourers had consumed everything, broken it down to base atoms, and moved on. They were not supposed to be here for 3 more years, Stor said, staring at the empty space where a thriving colony of 6 million people had been just hours ago. Enemy does not follow our schedules, Commander Sarah Okonkwo said. She was human, leading a mixed fleet of human and Concordat ships. Young for a fleet commander, only 38, but she had been training for this her entire adult life. We tracked them to next system. We hit them before they consume another world. We should call for reinforcements, one of the Concordat captains protested. No time, Okonkwo said. They move fast. We move faster, or more people die. Fleet, form up. We hunt now. The combined fleet followed the Devourers' trail to a nearby system. There they were, a swarm of thousands of ships, feeding on a gas giant, breaking it apart for resources. The sight was horrifying, beautiful in a terrible way. The Devourer ships moved with perfect coordination, like a school of fish or a flock of birds, each one part of a greater whole. We are outnumbered 20-1, Stor observed. Yes, Okonkwo agreed. Good odds. How is that good odds? Because they expect us to run. They have been chasing prey species for who knows how long. They do not expect prey that hunts back. She opened fleet-wide communications. All ships, this is Commander Okonkwo. You have trained for this moment. You know what to do. We hit hard. We hit fast, and we do not stop until they are dead or we are. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. We make them pay for every inch of space, for everyone who died in the colony, for everyone who will die if we fail. Make them pay. The human ships moved first, accelerating to speeds that would tear apart most Concordat vessels. They crashed into the Devourer formation like a hammer, weapons firing before they were even in optimal range. The Concordat ships followed, and for the first time in thousands of years, they fought like humans. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded on both sides. The Devourers adapted quickly, their formations shifting to counter new tactics within seconds. But the human-trained forces adapted faster. They used suicide runs to break enemy formations. They targeted command ships even when it meant certain death for the attackers. They weaponized their own destroyed vessels, ramming them into enemy targets. Stor watched from his bridge as a human destroyer, its hull breached and burning, accelerated into a Devourer mothership. The explosion consumed both vessels. They just killed themselves, he said, horrified. They just saved 3 Concordat cruisers, Okonkwo corrected. That destroyer was dead already. They made their death mean something. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, half the joint fleet was destroyed or crippled. But the Devourers were retreating, something they had never done before according to all intelligence. "We did it," Stor said, hardly believing it. "We actually made them run." "This time," Okonkwo said. She looked exhausted, her face showing the weight of command. "They will learn from this, they will come back stronger. But today we showed them something important." "What is that?" "That this galaxy has teeth." 3 years after the first battle, the Devourers came in force. Not thousands of ships, but billions. They entered the galaxy like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Dozens of worlds fell in the first week, hundreds in the first month. The concordate species that had refused to join the alliance and prepare for war were the first to die. The defense line was established at the Sagittarius Gap, a region of space where massive nebulae created natural choke points. If the Devourers could be held here, the core worlds of the concordate might survive. If they broke through, nothing would stop them from reaching Earth, the concordate capital, and every other populated world. Admiral Stor, now Supreme Commander of the Allied Defense Fleet, stood on the bridge of the combined human concordate command ship. Around him, officers from a dozen species worked together, their old prejudices forgotten in the face of extinction. "How long until they reach the gap?" he asked. 4 hours, Commander Okonkwo replied. She was his second in command now, promoted after her actions in numerous battles. "All defense platforms are online. Minefield is active, fleet is in position. We cannot hold them," Stor said quietly. "Even with everything we have built, there are too many." "Probably true," Okonkwo agreed. "But we make them pay for every meter." That was always the plan. The Devourers arrived like a wall of metal and destruction. Their numbers blotted out the stars. The Allied fleet opened fire first, long-range weapons hitting targets millions of kilometers away. Devourer ships died by the thousands, but thousands more replaced them instantly. "They do not care about losses," the Thelian Queen said. Her hive mind was coordinating fleet movements, a task that would overwhelm any individual mind. "They just keep coming. Then we keep killing them," General Park said from the ground command center on a nearby fortress world. "Until we run out of ammunition or they run out of ships, whichever comes first." The battle raged for days. Space became a graveyard of destroyed vessels, both Devourer and Allied. The humans introduced tactics that horrified the remaining traditional concordate members but proved devastatingly effective. Entire star systems were rigged to explode. Weapons that tore at the fabric of space itself were deployed. Black holes were weaponized and aimed at the thickest Devourer formations. "You are destroying the galaxy to save it," one concordate diplomat protested to Ambassador Chen. "We are destroying empty systems that the Devourers would consume anyway," Chen replied coldly. "Every star we collapse is one they cannot use for fuel. Every planet we sterilize is resources they cannot harvest. We make this galaxy too expensive for them to conquer. That is the strategy." On the front lines, the fighting reached levels of brutality that the concordate had never imagined possible. The Kryn warriors, fully embracing human combat doctrine, led boarding parties onto Devourer ships. They did not try to capture or disable. They simply destroyed everything, knowing they likely would not survive but ensuring the enemy ship would not either. Admiral Stor led a desperate counterattack when the Devourers broke through the secondary defense line. His fleet was outnumbered 10-1. He knew it was a suicide mission, but he also knew that behind him were 3 evacuation convoys carrying civilians from doomed worlds. They needed time. "All ships, form up on my position," he ordered. "We are going to show these creatures what the concordate has learned from humanity." His second-in-command, a young officer from his own species, looked at him with wide eyes. "Admiral, we cannot win this." "No," Stor agreed. "But we can make sure they do not win either. Full speed ahead. Ram them if you must. Just buy the convoys time." The sacrifice of Stor's fleet bought the convoys 90 precious minutes. Every ship was destroyed, including the flagship. Zexthor's last transmission was simple. I finally understand. You do not fight to win. You fight so the enemy loses. The war dragged on for 2 years. Billions died from every species. Human casualties alone numbered in the hundreds of millions. But slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. The Devourer's advance slowed, then stopped, then began to reverse. The turning point came with the activation of the Eschaton Protocol, humanity's final weapon. Stars in the path of the Devourer advance were triggered to go supernova simultaneously. The chain reaction destroyed thousands of light-years of space, along with millions of Devourer ships. It also destroyed dozens of inhabited systems, though they had been evacuated months earlier. You are committing cosmic vandalism, a Concordat counselor said, watching the destruction. We are drawing a line, General Park replied. Beyond this point, you do not get to exist. The Devourers understand strength. Now they understand that we are strong enough to destroy everything rather than let them have it. The message was received. For the first time in their recorded history, the Devourers retreated. Not destroyed, not defeated entirely, but pushed back beyond the galaxy's edge. They had learned what the Concordat was slow to understand. This galaxy was not prey. It was a predator. 10 years after the war ended, Ambassador Chen stood on Mars, now a garden world transformed by terraforming technology. She was old now, over 90, and tired in a way that sleep could not fix. Beside her stood a young Concordat officer, barely an adult by his species standards. Why did you laugh that day? He asked. When our fleet first came to Earth, your people laughed. I have always wondered why. Chen smiled, remembering. Because we knew something your people did not. We knew that in a universe full of predators, the only way to survive is to be the scariest thing out there. Your fleet came thinking you were the predators. We were showing you that you were wrong. And the Devourers, will they return? Probably, Chen admitted. They are still out there, watching, waiting. They will come back when they think they can win. But so will we. She gestured to the sky, where Earth's defensive platforms could be seen glinting in the sunlight. In the decade since the war, humanity had not stopped building. Neither had their allies. The entire galaxy was now an armed camp, every species ready for war at a moment's notice. The Concordat used to value peace above all, the young officer said. Now we value strength. Is that better? It is different, Chen said. Peace is wonderful when everyone agrees to it. But when someone wants to destroy you, peace is just another word for surrender. You learned that the hard way. We learned it from humans. Yes. And we learned something from the Concordat too. We learned that we do not have to face the darkness alone. Before your fleet came, humans were divided, suspicious of each other, always preparing for war against ourselves. Now we have allies, friends even. That is worth something. On Earth, in the United Nations building, a new monument had been erected. It listed the names of all who had died in the war, human and alien alike. Billions of names carved in stone, a reminder of the cost of survival. At the base of the monument, a simple plaque read, "They came in peace, we came in pieces, together we stand whole." Commander Okonkwo, now an old woman and a legend to both human and Concordat forces, often visited the memorial. She would stand there for hours, reading names, remembering faces. "Do you think we will have to do this again?" her aide once asked. "Yes," Okonkwo said without hesitation. "The universe is not kind, it is not fair. There will always be another threat, another enemy, another war. That is the nature of existence." Then what was the point? Why did they all die? So that others could live. So that species who would have been consumed got to survive. So that children who would never have been born got a chance at life. That is always the point. The galaxy was changed forever. The Concordat's old order was gone, replaced by something new, not human dominance as some had feared, but a true alliance of species united by the knowledge that survival required strength and the willingness to use it. Human training methods were now standard throughout Allied space. Every species maintained military readiness. Children grew up learning tactics and strategy alongside mathematics and art. It was a harder galaxy than before, but perhaps a more honest one. And far out beyond the galaxy's edge, the Devourers watched and waited. They had been beaten, but not destroyed. They would learn from their defeat. They would adapt. And one day, they would return. But when they did, they would find a galaxy that was ready. A galaxy that had learned to bite back. A galaxy that had learned the lesson humanity tried to teach. That first day when the Concordate fleet arrived in force. In a universe of predators, the only way to survive is to be the scariest thing out there. And now, the entire galaxy was scary. The Devourers would learn that the hard way, just as the Concordate had. Humanity had laughed at the Concordate's fleet, because they knew a truth the rest of the galaxy had forgotten in 12,000 years of peace. Predators do not fear other predators. They respect them, and respect in a universe of violence is the only real form of peace.